Hello, I'm Counsellor Chris Paul, and I want to talk today a little bit about what you might call letting life flow through you. And I want to talk about how we can do that in difficult circumstances. It's what somebody like Brené Brown might call remaining vulnerable, remaining open to life. And I'm thinking about it in the context where things are difficult, such as a disappointment, a crisis, or a trauma, where it's very easy to act with aversion and say, I don't want this, I'm going to get rid of this, rather than acting in a way that accepts what's happened, allows yourself to feel appropriately, and so allows yourself to move through it. Because the option of not moving through it means that in some way you will remain stuck in it or reacting to it for much longer than might otherwise be the case, and that can be very unhealthy. That's the sort of time that people can get stuck in depression, in aversive behaviours like addiction, which attempts to self-medicate and take the pain away, or worse things can happen. One can end up dissociating and daydreaming your life away. So what about the different troubles? Well, something like simple disappointment. We all get left down at times. And when we're let down, that can become quite difficult if we fiercely resist what's happened. So, for example, someone says they're going to meet you and they don't turn up. That's disappointing. And you can allow yourself to feel that disappointment and maybe do something that looks after yourself. Treat yourself well for a little while and help that feeling pass. Or you can get caught up in that disappointment and ring them up, text them frantically, really get stuck in it, let it ruin your entire day. Or let it flow through you and pass. Maybe something like a crisis comes along. For example, you might have a difficult time with your partner. It might feel like you don't know what's going to happen. Maybe you're going to break up. Maybe you're going to work through it and stay together. Well, in that sort of difficult situation, it's very easy to hold on to an idea of this is how life should be, this is how my relationship should be, rather than to actually be with the situation, to feel the pain and the grief. Always we naturally try and push these things away, to blank out what's difficult, to get away from it. And sometimes we might need to walk towards it. If something is difficult with your partner, for example, then you need to talk about it. You need to spend time on it, and that's going to hurt, because you're going to feel pretty rubbish while you're working through the things that are difficult. But the other option is to not talk about it, decide to go on a holiday, have a glass of wine together, something to distract you from what's going on. Doesn't solve the problem, and it will come back probably stronger. You haven't let whatever needs to happen. Life hasn't flowed through you. Or maybe it's something personally difficult, like a trauma. That can be many things. It can be an accident, a hospital operation, or something that's gone on for a long time. Could be an abusive situation with a partner, or abuse you suffered as a child, physical, mental, whatever. And that's really difficult to deal with quite often, because it will cause feelings and reactions that you don't understand. And once more, it's hard, but remaining open to what's going on for you, to actually not push it away, to not act with aversion, that's very tricky. But if you don't deal with how you feel, then that kind of gets stored up inside you, and it keeps affecting you for years and years. A good example might be grief. It's accepted as natural to grieve, but our culture tends to think, okay, there's a period for mourning and for grief, and then you get on with it. And after that, you're not allowed to have lots of feelings. People say, well, buck up, move on, get on with it. You've got to deal with this. And sometimes that's not the kind thing to do to yourself, because it stops your feelings, it stops life and emotion flowing through you. And if you do that, then the trouble is you don't just stop the grief, the pain and the hurt. You also blank yourself off to joy, to happiness, to love. And ultimately you can train yourself not to feel things, but then you feel nothing. And that's possibly worse than feeling grief or pain or loss or difficulty. So hard as it is, when someone says, just buck up, you have to say, well, actually, I'm sad. I'm going to carry on with my day, but I'm sad. Please allow me to be sad. So life does need to flow through you. When we act with aversion, when we try and stop feeling things, when we try and stop being with whatever is, then we no longer accept life, we push it away. And that can lead to loss of joy and a life that's not lived to the full. Now this is the sort of thing that it can be useful to talk to others about, depending upon how they treat it. Maybe you have a friend or a family member who will allow you to feel what you feel, or maybe not. And maybe if the pain is deep enough, you need professional help to sort that out. If you go to your GP, they can help with that. But often prescriptions for depression or emotional pain will be around a pill which will suppress it and, again, not allow life to flow through. You may need it to help at the time. So I'm not saying, don't take medication, absolutely far from it. Sometimes you absolutely need it. And sometimes you need it to help you sustain yourself while you deal with your emotions. But it's not everything. You need also to let those emotions work through.